Welcome to the New York iteration of the Enlighten and Intercultural Projects. Now, Sheinina Raj is the professional name. It's also Sheinina Raj West for those of you trying to look at different media platforms. So that's the same woman, of course. And her collaboration that we're in the middle of right now with the Crystal Method. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today are all of the amazing intersections of inspiration, creativity, technology, collaboration, and the different senses and the different ways that they can be engaged in this really singular, innovative project. The level at which these images are produced is really the highest production value I feel like I've ever seen in the photos on aluminum world. And then, as if that weren't sort of amazing enough, the next level is this technology wherein the sound speaker is physically integrated into the prints as they're installed, so that you don't have like equipment and separate stuff. It emanates from the image, sort of at your level, not top down, and there's multiple tracks and they merge together and create this kind of immersive environment. I see a lot of art as a critic and curator in Los Angeles, and I don't feel like I've experienced really anything like this with the clarity and simplicity and power of what this tech can get an artist like you guys to do. Tell everybody a little bit about kind of how it started, which we'll start with you because these are selections from a 15-year light painting project in which you yourself are the subject and the movement, and there are other iterations of ways you have exhibited this, projection, other kinds of things to get that kind of feeling. And then you found these guys. And then as well with the sound, sort of how that happened, how you guys met, and what that process was like for both of you.
I call it light painting photography. So I use unique light sources. And it's really quite technical, understanding the different techniques as far as multiple exposures, how fast I'm moving. So really understanding. So all of these are actually shot on a 35mm transparency film that I view more like a canvas that's blank. And as you understand, the piece of film is about this big. And so that understanding that space when I kind of set it up, I kind of in my mind I'm like, okay, I'm in this rectangle essentially, and understanding where I've placed the light when. And of course, understanding at some point you'll just blow up the film, obviously. So understanding just how far you can push it, because I like to push it as far as I can, clearly. And then I do all kinds of techniques from like I said, the light sources, the multiple exposures, different focal lengths, different shutter speeds, and all of that sort of stuff. And of course, really incorporating dance and movement into that, and really kind of emanating that energy. I do a lot of meditation prior to shooting these, and I feel like it puts me in this trance space where it's like transcendence of energy and really channeling this universal energy passing through me and expressing what that feels like, what that would look like if you could see it. And hopefully with the work, essentially sharing the work would be inspiration for other people as they would recognize this energy and this spirit level, and hopefully inspiring them that this is real and that this is something that they can also experience for themselves. Where I did all kinds of things. I Rio Chinatown for Los Angeles, projecting onto the buildings and the dancers, and Coachella Music and Art Festival. I made huge sculptures and would project onto those, and then eventually got into VJing with DJs where I'd mix them live and up until 4 o'clock in the morning. And so at least it gave me an outlet and a way to share the work, but it was always in unique settings, but nothing quite tangible for
So it
anyone.
had the energy that you wanted,
Yes.
but it was still ephemeral.
Yes.
And so it was always kind of back and forth. A static object was not satisfying to you. A live situation was satisfying but temporary.
Yes.
And what are you,
So
and
then-
maybe a light box, but
I tried that, but it's been done.
It's been done, and they're so cumbersome.
They are, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And so of course once I had discovered Illuminize and they had sent me some samples, I was like, oh my gosh, and this was for Art Basel 2016. I had a satellite event I had done with them with Intercultural, and they had on their own, sent some samples, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been waiting for. I had to wait for technology to catch up with me, So I feel like it has this urban cutting edgeness to it, even though it's a very organic, spiritual quality, like that I'm expressing. But I think as a finished piece, it's energy, and I just really love when the light bounces off the silver and back out. I feel like it just brings it to life.
It has that luminosity.
Yes.
I mean, people use that word when they talk about what art looks like a lot, but it really, I'm guessing that it's because of the aluminum as well as the really saturated palette that you're working with. That combination, they really do have that kind of light box quality. They really do seem to radiate rather than absorb. But having the integrated sound situation keeps the experience moving. So even when you're physically standing still in front of an image, there's something happening that's coming to you out of the picture plane.
Well, I found it really exciting because, like you're saying, usually it's separate. So while collaborations, have been going on for, ages with a visual and sound, it's never been quite cohesive or tangible again, something you could actually have as a finished fine art piece of work. And so it's quite exciting for me that having this omnidirectional sound and actually having the artwork serve as the speaker. So with the sound actually, like you're saying, emanating through, it's just very exciting to actually have it be so uniform that way. Like it's always been separate. It's the first time you can actually do that. And I feel like that's revolutionary.
The piece vibrates, which is a very interesting thing. Of course, speakers vibrate, and that's how you get that sort of warmth a little bit. You get this, you almost get this heartbeat that's coming from, a speaker. And really great speakers sound, who can have all those qualities that you love to hear. Again, just a normal guitar on a straight line into you record it, you're going to just get this very, you can play with it with effects, and you're just going to get this very narrow sound. But if you put that same sound back out into a hallway with a little bit of distortion and all that sort of space to where there's this natural reflection, you almost get particles of it. And when you look at these pictures, it's the same sort of thing. You have these different, they have such a high-res, low-res balance that they pop really well, but they're also very granular. And they have a lot of that film, that beautiful sort of film, that naturally visual noise.
But yet you want the energy and the vibrato and that sort of kind of cosmic noise feeling in this piece at that scale. So to me, that's kind of something that's really interesting, is taking. I always thought about being image specific, but I didn't think about being site or space specific until you were just talking about that, and that is really interesting to me too. So they're just as appealing to music nerds as they are to art people.
I mean, it does have this natural interactive ability to go beyond it.
With both yourself and Ellie, it's like, well, go on this journey. Just take them on this sound experience. Run with your inspiration and just the rules. Break the rules. Those rules do not apply here. You are free. And please, when people listen to it, help them feel free too. And then keeping in mind that it was going to be a loop dedicated to the artwork, that I felt the length was very important. So,
when you said you first came to me, you said it should be going to be 15 minutes.
And normally, if anyone hasn't really paid attention, it's 3.5 minutes for radio.
Dog years, 15 minutes? You're talking about really 3 minutes, and you're just going to do.
I was like, no, I think 15.
Oh yeah, it's 15. So then we started working on the track, and
in his face, I'm sorry, there were times when he would look at me, and the look in his eyes, I'm like, am I scaring you?
Yeah, it's all right.
See, it's funny because there's a few words, and I saw you, Scott, kind of nodding when she hit a few of those words, like that kind of pure energy expression, the word trance, obviously. And, I almost feel like I don't even need to ask because it's such a natural pairing with your aesthetic.
And with this project, I had seen a lot of Sheinina's artwork over the years, and again, I'd seen them in different forms, like the projections and the, and always dealing with the different environments and the different lighting and how the room is, whether there's any layers of smoke. And then Sheinina came to me and she said, with a pure confidence in me as an artist, which I definitely appreciate, and just the understanding that this is going to be right. We're going to make it. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. This thing, we went back and forth. We went back and forth 3 times on whether or not. So I'm like the one time you came over and you said, "I want you to do this," and it was about the DJing, and then we came over about writing the song, and it was just this constant like sort of you were almost painting all these different things out there, and you were confident that I would find a way forward through it. So we've always been rock, electronic, big drums, heavy, driving beats, distorted sounds, synths, push,
And that's why I thought you'd be perfect.
Yes.
So what I'm really captivated by is the high degree to which you not only do that for yourself in the work, but also in your collaborators, like do what you are feeling from this. Not here's what I want for this, not here's my vision, not make it dancing. And so to me, I love also too that marriage of this very spiritual, cosmic kind of language, but with what we've been talking about as a kind of urban edge to the work and the way that it's produced and the physicality of it.
Well, I feel like sometimes there's like a graffiti look to it sometimes,
definitely.
or you know what I mean?
That kind of spray, that
the noise, that visual noise that's in there that comes from a spray can or some sort of other form of or that ink is
something
distributed, paint is
atmospheric.
distributed almost. And that's as far as like.
And light can bleed as well on film, what I mean? Just like paint would kind of expand on a surface. But it is interesting that the technology, when you mention the technology, so I think it's also interesting to know that it's smart sound technology. So you do get an opportunity to actually control it from a smart app. And in reference to pushing these boundaries, when I had first discovered Soundwall, and Nelly Furtado had discovered Intercultural, which is a touring exhibition. So this was in Toronto, and she went to the show, and she collected the Portuguese woman, or she's a Portuguese background, and then she had contacted me to say how inspired she was, and
you were like,
writing
want to
music.
write a song?
No, she was like, I've been so inspired. I've been writing music, and she's like,
so she already
she asked me,
was working on music based on your images before.
So then she called me and was like, would you consider this? Have you ever considered it? And I was like, actually, yes, I found this new technology. And so, but we, there's, at the time there was 16 portraits complete, and so it was kind of like, where do we begin and end here? And so we eventually, through a couple months of brainstorming and stuff, and figuring this out, and texting each other at 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever, like, we'd have one of those light bulb moments in the middle of the night and just send each other a text. And anyway, so we kind of narrowed it down to 4 cultures, and that's Moroccan, Hawaiian, Indian, and Mexican, and each for its own reason. She does a lot of charity work, Free Children in Kenya, which they do a lot of the drumming circles. So hence Morocco actually keeps in line with the traditional drumming. And then, Mexico, she sings in Spanish, and Hawaiian has the native instrument, ukulele. So, and that's a Portuguese instrument actually. And then when she was like, what is your one culture? Just tell me one. I kept refusing to pick one. I was like, no, you have to pick. It's your journey. And so I was like, okay, fine. You've got 3. If I pick one, it's going to have to be Indian woman. I'm half Indian, so it only makes sense, right? So again, getting to the pushing of the technology, so we're keeping in context with the show's intention, which is unity and peace, and respecting each other's cultural identity, and really embracing that and embracing it as a whole, And so each piece actually plays an individual track, which is 14 minutes, 22 seconds. And they play in unison, which we were able to actually control. So we push the boundaries. This isn't something that existed. So I mastermind this, okay, well we have to, if it's 4, then they have to play in unison, and now we have to have this custom programming done. So it's unique to the intercultural quadraphonic, where you can actually have 4 individual pieces inspired by each culture that play in unison, that form this grander composition. That again, you need the smart app to kind of set that start time.
Well, most paintings were about capturing an image, a still image of something that was happening, of a person sitting the same way forever, or some sort of, every going back through time, every image was a freeze frame moment. This is more of many moments expanded out and layered on top of it because you use the way you use exposure, because the way you go in and layer over the top of it and the transparency. There's so many ghost-like images sort of layered so in there that you almost look like you're looking at the past.
Right, and that kind of mesmeric.
Like this one here is, I mean, again, just speaks to so much of how it's so dressed, has this beautiful fabric sort of vibe at the bottom, and then you look and it's like, maybe those are the high heels for her dress, and then you look up and then you spot her in that corner.
And then there's a sculptural quality, like a modern sculpture, like a Chamberlain or other kinds of sculptures. When I'm looking at this one, happens to be behind you, that's the orange with the green, that's the circles, and I can feel my body doing that when I'm looking at it.
For the first observation of our ancestors, I mean, a very long time ago, seeing a leaf being moved by wind, the assumption was there must be a god of the winds who would animate that leaf because it looks like it's alive. So those parts of the ancient brain, as well as the more advanced parts, are actually looking at this and seeing life in it, especially this one. This feels alive.
Yes, that energy, like that sensation, and engaging their energy and making that, trigger that in them,
Yeah, I love that. That makes sense. If you believe me, if you can do that to him, you're.
I've done the impossible.
Yeah, because and in moments like this, when you discover that you're both actually having the same experience and describing the same experience, just with the languages that we've adopted,
right.
That actually really is kind of the moment, by another means, and I find that really memorable.
The piece started out with this sort of rhythmic, sequenced synth, but it had a little bit of that drum element to it. And it was done on this this old synth called the ARP 2600, and the ARP 2600 is the voice of R2D2. And so all of the squeaks and all the little things are from this particular piece. And I just love it. It's 70s, built in the 70s, sounds amazing. And what's so amazing about it, it has these little speakers in the front and it has this reverb in it that, again, if it sounds good coming out of those speakers, God, it's got to be good sounding. It sounds great coming out of these other speakers. So it has this old school vibe where it's almost like this was like the Mac speakers of its time, and this is like the limitation. It's so not that the sound is changing anywhere to sound better out of those speakers. It is the way that this particular piece is built, and so building off of that. But we would just go for many minutes, 20, 30 minutes of just playing stuff over the top of it and moving. And what I found enjoyable about, in the moment, you go, oh, but you don't want to stop in that moment. You don't want to stop there. You're like, oh, that thing that just went by, that's great. But that just gives you more confidence that there's going to be a lot of gems to discover as you then,
and then you
go back. And then what I did when we went back is I would take, even though we would do long sessions, I would go and take that section and then put it over this section, and I would take this section and then I'd put it over this section. So 1 minute of Brian's kind of guitar being just distorted and amplifying in the back would then be smoothed out by this other section that was we brought in from another take.
And I actually do really appreciate it. Say thank you so much, Scott. I do appreciate your attention to detail and how much passion you put into it, and the fact that our friendship is on the line. I'm just kidding. But I do appreciate it.
Well, it was nice to just detach from all that and just focus on this project and this particular image and what you've done in this and your friendship and all those different things, and bringing Brian in. Lots of synergy that really helped.
Well, you nailed it.
Yeah, you nailed it. You both did. You both nailed it. Thank you both for having us here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone.